Hey everybody, I'm John.
I'm Johnny.
We're here with another episode of The Unconditional Life. Today we want to talk to you about probably what'll be a hot topic, marriage, in specific an unconditional marriage, and we'll dive into what we mean more by that. First, for me, that would just literally mean marrying somebody without expectation and judgment or projecting anything about who they're going to be or who they even are. Marrying them for what is available today and allowing them to transform into whoever they become. I think sometimes we were talking about that on the way down here, Johnny, about the promises we make when we were married. I think you should dive into that because I was really interested by your concept on that.
Well, the way it's the system's set up right now, what a lot of people believe, is that when you get married, the idea is that you're marrying somebody that, you complete me. And it's a romantic thought, You complete me, I complete you, and it's a very in love thing to say. And love is a huge part of it, but I would venture to say that it's more important to find somebody that you can share with your completeness instead of finding somebody to complete you. See, it's one of the most important relationships you have in your life is your significant other. Whether that's a spouse. Today we're specifically talking about marriage, but you can apply a lot of these concepts to most of the relationships you have in your life. It doesn't necessarily need to be a spouse. It could be a significant other that you're very, very close to, you've spent a lot of time with. But that one person that you're sharing your experiences with more than anybody else,
absolutely,
makes that one of the most important relationships that you can have in your life, because you learn the most about yourself through those relationships, and you understand more about who you are. It tests you in different ways and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But you got to realize that even though we're sharing this stage with another person, whom we love very much, it's still a very individual process. It's still me evolving into the person I eventually want myself to become at my ultimate highest. This is the best version of myself. And marriage is about wanting and supporting that for the person that you're right there alongside with.
Absolutely.
Just leaning on each other. And at the very beginning, I know you were leading into promises, but at the very beginning, when we say our I do's, we make a lot of promises to be the same person. You know what I mean? Most of what we talk about there is about, hey, I'll always be this and that for you. And that's awesome, and it's an awesome sentiment. But life has changed. There's nothing more consistent than change. Every single day after that, you are changing. You're a different person you were than the day before. So I think a marriage is about being free in those changes and still being able to develop into the person that leads you to, as well as being able to support another person who's going through that, which is all of us. But
I totally agree.
And then you're sharing experiences to help accomplish that for each other. You're
Absolutely.
just using a field, we'll call it, to base your experiences off of.
I remember shortly after my wife and I got married, we're very different people, and
that's really good. A lot of times in the marriage,
I have found that it is.
Yeah. If I married somebody too much like myself, then a lot doesn't get done.
Well, and that's what I'm in specific. One day, I can't even remember what I said something, and my ADD sometimes I'll be halfway off the diving board, and I don't even recognize that there's no water in the pool, and that's basically what she said to me. She said, "Did you think about that all the way through, or did you just jump off the diving board?" Well, later that day, my younger brother said to me, he's not little, he's younger, but he said, "Man, your wife is so bold. What do you think about that?" And that's actually one of the reasons I married her, because my own best thinking has me right at the edge of as good as I got. And I don't need somebody saying, "Oh, that's a good idea, John." I don't need a cheerleader. I need somebody who loves me enough to get my back, to really look out for me. And I don't even remember, there's a movie once, and I think it's got Helen Hunt and Jack Nicholson in it, but it doesn't matter. Not the golfer, the actor. But yeah. She says, "What do you like? What is it that you like about me?" And he says to her, "You make me want to be a better man." And I think that's one of the secrets to to a good marriage is, or to a good partnership of any kind. Having enough rapport and enough safety together to, like I told you when we started hanging out, bro, if you see or hear me do something that you know is out of character for me, will you be my brother and tell me?
Yeah.
Like that's, we don't need someone to say, oh, you look great in them pants when you look like crap in them. Like we need somebody to love us enough to say, and what about da-da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, go for it.
Right. Yeah, that support is everything. And it's kind of funny because I look at my wife as the most supportive person I have in my life.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the whole point, and that's why you get married, is to have somebody be that rock for you. That doesn't mean you adapt who you are to accommodate the rock. And what I mean by that is, how many of us, when we go out and do something, do we go, hey, babe, I'm going to do this. Is that okay real quick? Or, hey, and I'm not trying to disrespect the way anybody communicates or anything like that, but most of us ask permission from our significant others before we do pretty much anything. You know what I mean? A lot of us do. Or at least, and we want to make sure they know what's going on and stuff like that and that it's okay. But there's something said to being your own person and not having it's like you're replacing the mom and dad concept. You know, and because you don't have your mom and dad you have to answer to anymore. So who does that person become in your life? Who takes that role? Usually it's your spouse. And so you usually have to get permission or hey, let me check, make sure that's okay. And I think we need to get away from that a little bit and celebrate our individuality and still be okay saying yes yourself, you know?
Excuse me. I totally agree. I don't think that means, like you said, disrespecting. That takes me again to the beginning of my marriage. And I can't even remember what the whole setup was, but one day we were getting ready to go do something, and it was just about Thanksgiving Day time, and I mentioned to my wife, hey, I'm going to get up on Thanksgiving morning and go skiing for a few hours, and then I'll come home, grab you, and we'll go to Dad's for dinner. And she said, oh, okay. And we were just barely married, and I said, wait a minute. I'm not asking for permission. And she kind of looked at me, and she said, well, good. I just was saying it'd be okay. I'll be ready to go to lunch. And in that conversation right there, she said, I don't want to be your mom. I said, good, because I don't want to be your dad. Like, we totally are unique. It goes back to that thing. So many people, you make my life whole. Well, if you've ever seen a team of horses pull something, the two horses don't just make one horse. They actually make three horses. They can pull, two horses that are equally yoked can pull more than three horses independently because the synchronicity of their power combined. And that's what marriage can be when you bring I didn't
know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that about horses.
A team of horses can pull more together, like it may be even 4 or 5. It's a lot more than they can pull. Is it 4 times? Brad's correcting me. Thanks, Brad.
I knew
it was at least 3 times the weight that any independent horse could pull.
That's pretally cool.
And it's actually, if you think about in your any significant relationship in your life, if you've had someone to lean on, it's always easier to go through that experience than it is to pack it all by yourself. And that kind of established something in our marriage. We are very, very, and it's actually funny because a lot of charts, the horoscopes and Chinese horoscope, they say avoid each other. And I think that we both have been on a journey to do our best to sharpen our own saws, to heal our own wounds and our traumas and deal with things so that we are bringing the most complete version of each other to the table, and then champion the growth of the other person. I love to see her blossom, and she loves to support me. And so it's been this real beautiful thing instead of this till death do we part as long as we're... The
superficial words we all say.
But I understand why people get there, but I also remember in our wedding vows, both of us said some version of I'm here to grow with you. Not just till death do us part. Whoa, we're married and it's drudgery and we're going to get this crap done no matter what. We joyfully, like I told her recently, I told one of my friends recently, he said, man, you guys just click and jive. What's your secret? I said, well, part of my secret is I've surrendered everything I know that I have to supporting her in the betterment of her life and still retain my own sovereignty. And she's done the same. It's like this little meme I saw the other day. This little old man and little old lady are sitting on a park bench, and you could tell they're pissed at each other. And it's raining. And he's holding his umbrella out over her. And it says, love is when you care enough about another person to get their back even though you're mad. That's the kind of marriage I'm talking about.
That's cool.
Not where you're dependent on one another, but where you're interdependent. Not codependent, where you count on one another, not can't breathe without each other.
Yeah. And I would say too often we do see, unfortunately, the opposite of that. And I would say the opposite of that comes down to a possession thing. There's a lot of us that have possessiveness wrapped up so tightly in our marriage that it doesn't allow us to experience something like
Yes.
that. It robs you of even being able to have somebody's back. And a lot of it is born from our insecurities from when we were younger, the things we didn't have when we were growing up that we want to have as an adult, and we're damn sure we're going to have them.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, everything's a result of what we've taken in our lives. But I will say that there's a lot of people who have a very possessive marriage. And it can be anyone. It can be the husband that's a little possessive and jealous of the wife, and so that manifests in their
Or
relationship
both.
with jealousy and stuff like that. Or a wife that is possessive of her husband, and that manifests differently. And that type of ownership mentality, and if you're in a marriage like that, a lot of times it's hard to see it as an ownership thing, because you kind of just, I'm not saying that it's obvious, but there is this, hey, check in wherever you go. I want, needing to know all the time where somebody is, and just having this possessive mentality about it. This is my you know where I'm going.
Oh,
with
I
that.
know. I know. This is going to be extremely controversial to say this, but I two things. First of all, we don't know it all, folks. I want to reiterate that a lot. We don't know it all. I mean, I'm here to tell you that there are so many nuances to marriage that we haven't got it all figured out. I mean, we're bumping along, doing the best we can to be good men and have good marriages. But look at the statistics. Half of the people that you see across the board choosing wholeheartedly to enter into a contract called marriage with another person, half of them will be divorced sooner than later. Something is not working. So we're talking about changing the status quo. This conversation has got to change so that we're entering into these contracts with a different set of expectations. And we'll go to that in our following episode. We'll talk about expectations and how we project those on people. But truthfully, the best way to be a team is to allow your teammate to be something. I'm going to say something that's controversial because I see it. I think, and again, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, but one of the greatest ways I see possessiveness is a shared social media account. Like, when did you become the same person? Bob and Lisa Thomas, that's not a person. That's a family page.
I see what you're saying.
And I'm not trying to please people. Don't go crazy on me and think I'm judging you for. That's just a perspective that I've looked at.
And there are people that have those accounts for
legit reasons. But I see
there are some of them that are because of exactly what you're talking about.
A lot of times it comes down to, here's even a good one. How many of us have the freedom in our lives to have male and female friends, whether you're married or not? I would pose that it's about learning boundaries and about marriage is not a contract for ownership and control and domination. It's, in my experience, the best marriages are mutually beneficial partnerships where we're consistently looking out for the health and well-being of one another and coming together to collaborate effectively to raise children or plan for a future, plan vacations, so that you're not alone in this journey of evolution as you grow. And often, based on lots of stimuli in our lives, we are insecure going into marriages. And we marry a person to complete us or whatever those other reasons are. All of the, in my experience, some passive-aggressive reasons we want to own someone. And like your dad lovingly taught me the other day, and I've always known that I'm the only person that owns me. I don't own my wife. I don't even own my kids. And that's going to have people go crazy. I don't own my kids. They're their own people. My job is to keep them alive and give them a moral compass so that they can go do their life and be effective adults. And that's what I think with marriage. Are we championing? Yeah.
That's
our partner.
Word.
That's like, or like, and in so many times, as we wrap up, so many times, I have a tough time when I hear someone berate their spouse. It's not classy. It's certainly a very ineffective way to build a powerful marriage if everywhere you go you're talking down about the person that you share your home, your finance, your kids, your body, your life with. And again, I'm not perfect, guys, but don't you think if you treated your wife or women, if you treated your husband like they were the most incredible, amazing person in the world, they might respond a little bit differently than if you treat them like they're just some jerk that lives in your house that you kind of sort of tolerate because you've been married for so long you can't think about anything else. And I'm not saying that that's where everybody is, but again, folks, remember, 40 years I've been going in people's house. I'm an empath. I feel it in your homes. So many of us are settling for, and that's it. It's not that we're doing the best we can, and I know that, but we're settling for less than what's available to us by opening our hearts and opening our minds and putting down the conditions that we automatically accept in life. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Trying to figure out how to make sure that we become unconditional, and that does mean in every aspect of our life. It looks a little bit differently to everybody, but that's what we're after.
Absolutely.
Just to talk about it.
Yeah, just to talk about it. Is it possible
It's up
that
to
you
you
can
what you do with the information.
Yeah.
You might disagree. That's cool.
I actually hope some of you do disagree, because then you'll give me some feedback and I can think and learn and grow myself, and that's what this is about. We love you guys.
Thank you.